Okay, so ready? We're going to do content. The hardest part is the first page. Ta-da. Everybody with me? Who has their folded piece of white paper ready to go? Good. At the top of the folded white piece of paper, draw a square, a circle, draw something, make a headline. It's going to say, at home with, and write your name. Do not put mine. I told you you could, oh, now we're going to that. I heard a little feedback. We're good? Okay, so if this gets bad, we're just going to shut this thing off and I'm going to just yell loud. At the top, I want you to just make a line. It's going to be a headline, whatever you want. Get creative, but you're going to put at home with Michelle, at home with Suzie, at home with Joe, at home with Antonio. Whatever your name is, put your name here. Okay? What does it mean to be at home with somebody? Invited in, and what else? Comfortable. When you're at home with somebody, you're at home with something, you're comfortable. It's an old saying, right? We're at home with something. Don't you want your folks to be at home with you? Didn't you help them get a home, or you want to help them sell their home? It's really a really perfect kind of statement to say at home with Darren and Tony Ray. Just don't use my name. Well, you can, but it'll be weird. Use your name. You don't have to reinvent the title. At home with says it all. You're at home, right? And then what do I have there? It says news to help you save time, money, and words to inspire. That gives you an open door to start putting really cool content in there, right? Who doesn't want to save time and money? Anybody here would not want to save time and money? You're all the people getting this want to save time and money. The other thing about writing these, it actually helps keep you on track on what you should be looking at for content when you're helping your consumer. They would like to save time and money. You can save time by giving me a quick recipe that's delicious that only takes me 20 minutes to make for the whole family. You just help me save time. Right? Who likes food? I like it a lot. So you can use all these words right here. I would suggest you put your website on there, not mine, right? And then all I do at the top is I put January 2019 newsletter. Now that's scary because that means they expect what? Oh, and it's like when you don't do February, you get like heartburn. But it's okay because I've discovered in 24 years of mailing these out, they don't notice if you screw up.
You don't use volume 1.
They're fine. No, don't do volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just put the month and put newsletter, right? January 2019 newsletter. If you put one out in February or March, it's going to say March. They're going to assume they didn't get theirs in the mail if they really think you're supposed to be doing it monthly. And they might even call you and say, hey, I didn't get a newsletter, which is a really cool call to get. But don't worry about this. Just get one out. If you don't do another one for 4 months, get back on track and do it again. Don't beat yourselves up. You just do it. We have had times where I skipped 3 or 4 months, and just because I was so busy, and I looked at the team and said, oh my God, when was the last time we did a newsletter? And oh yeah, that was in April. Okay, well it's December. Let's get back on it. Yeah? The clients typically call, though, this is interesting, after you've forgotten for a few months, they'll call you up and say, I just want to tell you I love your newsletter. Because all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm on the list again. It's really cool. I have had clients, they'll call me and ask me why I dropped them from the list when I went a few months without, and I had to beg forgiveness and tell them it was all about me. So it does happen. But that means they're paying attention and they're reading your newsletters. Okay? We're going to write a Ford letter. All this is from the top down. This is how many words? Anybody good at wordsmithing? Who knows words? How many words do you think this is?
150.
Probably 300, but you're close. I don't know. I'd say it's 300 is my guess. 300 words. All you have to do is write me a letter. And here's how we're going to write the letter. You're going to, who's your most trusted person that would never judge you? Your friend? What's your friend's name? Your dog. The dog is a good one. What's your friend's name? Ruthie? Lori? Who's the person you trust the most? Husband would never judge. What's your husband's name? Brad? Somebody in the back. Jeannie, who's Jeannie? A dear friend. So where I'm going with this is that if you were to write this letter to Jeannie, you'd be totally comfortable, wouldn't you? Because Jeannie isn't going to judge you. And what can you put in this letter to Jeannie? Anything, right? You don't have to worry about what you're writing to Jeannie or your husband or best friend. You don't have to worry about what you write to your dog. Although my dog does a little thing like this sometimes. So, I don't know. Maybe they do know what you're doing. But my point is I want you to take a pic. If you have like this like butterfly weird feeling about writing this letter, because this is the hard part, if you get that feeling at all, just take 3 deep breaths. Do not call me. Just take 3 deep breaths. And then I want you to think about Jeannie or Brad, right? Or Ruthie or the dog. And if you want to, put their picture next to the computer right here. And when you're typing on the monitor, you can be looking at them. I want you to write with that kind of authenticity in this letter. This is the letter that cinches it all. This is you giving back to them. This is where you write about your family, your occupation, your recreation, and your dreams. I do say be careful about the occupation. It sounds like a sales pitch when you start talking all about real estate. So get personal. In my very first year, the very first newsletter I got, so I was like a secret agent. I didn't want anybody to know I sold real estate.
Worked very well, right?
It worked well. My first year I sold 0 houses because I was so secret. I had this really weird thing about it when I started about not being good enough, not deserving the business, not being good enough because I didn't know enough, being green, being new. My reputation, I grew up in a family where reputation was everything. The President of the United States gave my mother an award. My father and mother were always in the news. There was reputation around me all the time, so when it came to selling real estate, I was terrified of letting anybody know I was selling real estate. So the first year I didn't sell a single house. Rosie Coberline at Long Realty almost escorted me to the door. She was very sweet. She said, "You got to go, honey, because you're not selling." And she said, "You're never going to make it in this business. You have to door knock and you have to cold call and you have to, see that big directory? You have to call every single person in there until someone gives you a listing." No. So Rosie and I had a conversation. It was very nice, and I begged her to let me stay 1 more year. And I said, "Rosie, I want to be treated like doctors and lawyers and those guys are treated, that you call up and you actually make an appointment. And I say, yeah, I have availability on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Come to my office and we'll chat about selling your house." I wanted that life. And Rosie said, "You get in the van over there, you drive down the street, I'm going to drop you off and you're going to knock on every door until we get a listing." And it was funny. Anybody else at the time doing that back in 1990s? Does anybody remember those days of cold calling and using the Kohl's directory? I'm getting some nods, right? Did anybody get dropped off in vans? Long Realty had 9 vans, I think. We got dropped off in vans. Yeah. A guy chased me down the street with a shotgun when I knocked on his door. I jumped in the van and never, ever did it again. Yeah, it was the end of my door knocking. Yeah. But we did that stuff in those days. We didn't have the power to advertise or market or get the word out like we do today. We didn't have any of the technology that made that easy, right? So now it's right here and this is almost free in comparison to anything else. And this is like building a foundation to a house. In so many ways, this lays foundation. It lays foundations emotionally for your clients, and it lays foundation when it comes to thinking of an agent. All of a sudden it pops in their head they need to buy, sell, or refer. This has laid foundation. So you got to think of this like that concrete slab underneath that house. This is the foundation. We can buy leads. We can get leads from, what other areas can you get leads from? Zillow, you can buy Zillow leads, or somebody else? What is it? Say it again. Referrals, we can get leads from them. What else? Where else can you get leads? Neighbors, open houses, right? Cold calls. What's the big thing right now that a lot of new agents and teams are doing? Where are they getting their leads? They're buying them. They're buying them big time. What happens when you buy leads if you don't have a system set up to handle the leads? You didn't make very much money, most likely you broke even, so you just did work for fun. But if you don't have a system set up to follow up with the client, then why did you buy the lead? If I'm going to buy the lead, I have to buy the lead knowing I make $0 on the buy. Unless they buy something really expensive, but your profit margin on buying leads is super low. So why would you spend 2 years buying leads to get started? Because you have a system and a foundation ready to go. Because if I start you, let's say Michelle is my lead, and I make no money, but she loves me, she thinks I'm really cute, and she refers me somebody. You didn't even nod or a happy, like when I said cute. God. So she sends me a client, now I have a profitable referral lead. That's different. And then I work to make sure that I am accountable to Michelle and accountable to the lead, and they make them both happy, and they both refer me another lead. And this foundation here keeps going out every month to remind them that I'm here, but also that I am a human being that is authentic and that they get to know me. They get to know about my family. They get to know that I took a trip to Paris. They get to know that I just went camping in my new retro camper. They get to know that I have a new Wheaten Terrier puppy. And they can identify and relate to me because I'm letting them see me. So this is the hardest part. You're going to write these letters. And I'll give you a story. My very first letter, I felt like I was going to throw up twice. I could not. I was such a secret agent writing the letter. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. I can remember. I can feel it now. It was so awful. And this was like 24 years ago. And my business coach kept saying, just write the letter. And he's the one who told me, he said, who's the person you trust? Put their picture up beside the typewriter. 1990. Yeah, and I want you to type that out, right? I didn't do a newsletter on a computer back then, by the way. I was really shifty. I knew how to draw a line with a ruler, so I drew one, to make this happen. So he said to me, just look at your trusted best friend and write the letter. And I was really angst over it, but I wrote a letter about this person who walked up to me, and she said, oh my God, Tony Ray, you're so thin, you're so lucky, you're so skinny, I love you. And it was like somebody took a knife and started slicing through my body, and it really hurt me, and it just upset me so much that I was paralyzed for a while by those comments. Now, how many people love those comments, right? How many people would love to have somebody run up and go, oh, you're so skinny, you're so thin, right? We all that's what we want. But back in the day, I was a young, very young looking guy in real estate nobody would take serious, and I seriously weighed nothing. Right now, I'm big. I'm huge. I'm big dude right now. I was thin. I was eating smack ramen, and I had no body fat. And for me, it wasn't enough. It wasn't man enough. And I identified that I didn't feel like I was good enough or a man because I didn't have, people were telling me I was thin and skinny. And that wasn't what guys wanted to be. Guys still today are working out, trying to be bigger. They do steroids to be, big and manly, right? That still goes on. That's body dysmorphia. Well, I was really in touch with the fact that I did not like those words. So I started working out, and I started drinking little cans of Ensure. Ugh. But they had chocolate, and they had protein in them between meals, and I could get extra protein. I was burning calories so fast. You think my energy's high now? You should have seen me at 25. I was burning energy, just burning it, and I still burn it really fast. I can eat 4 meals today and not gain a pound. I was just burning it. So I was doing these little cans of protein and trying to gain weight, and I was trying to work out, and I was trying to gain weight, and I thought I was looking pretty good, and this girl comes up and says, "You're so thin." And she meant it with all the love in the world, and I understood that. And I get that everything was great about what she said. But what I also identified is that I had an issue going on within me that needed to come out. So I chose that as my first letter. And I wrote about this story, and I talked about how being a young guy, how awful it is when people say you're too thin or you're skinny, and what that did for me and to me. And I wrote the letter, I talked about everything, and guess what happened? 28 phone calls within a week. I had women on the phone crying as I answered and never knew the other side. But the stories coming out were that these women were telling me they've experienced the same thing, only they were accused of anorexia or being bulimic or being sickly, and they were dealing with being too skinny. Now, whoever thought this was a thing? But that letter did two things. Released a whole lot of negative energy from me and let me move forward in my life and never look back about being skinny. But it also connected me to 28 really incredible ladies. And all of these women are still in my life today. And all of them read my newsletter every time it comes in. And they look to see what they're identifying with Tony Ray. So I say that to you because there's nothing probably that's just you can't do enough. You cannot be authentic enough, and you cannot be honest enough. So I want you to write in these letters to your best friends or the people you trust the most. So is there anybody in the room who thinks they cannot write this letter? It's totally be honest. We're totally okay. I want to help you through it. Okay, so all we're going to do, if you look at the bottom half, look, I'm not even asking you for much. I took up this space and I took up this space. So all you have to do is fill in this little bit. Okay? So this will be the only thing that hangs you up. Michelle, did this hang you up or did you do this?
Yeah, I did that with my keto journey. You were telling me to document that, so that's now the first page of the second.
How many people doing keto or know what it is? How many people know what keto is? Paleo and keto. A lot of people in the room can identify with what she's writing about right now. Right? Did you guys write about something personal in your first newsletter? Personal in the fronts?
Sort of. I did something more about blood donation.
Okay.
And the young girl that was going with her, and she had getting blood donation every week for many years of her life.
Right?
And I came across the parents of this girl, and they created a foundation that helps bring boys to the hospital where all these kids have to go to these things.
Nice. Now,
So I kind of personalized it in the sense that I came across this person who told me about it, and I thought I'd write about it. So I kind of personalized it.
and so do you hear what she's saying? Is she found something she wanted to write about, but what we would encourage you is to make it super personal. Why does this mean so much to you? Why does it mean so much to you for the charities that you do give to or volunteer for? Why are they the charities that you chose? Someone died in the past. Someone in your family has this disease. Somebody is connected to you or you wouldn't be connected to it. And by writing about it, you're helping all of us, right? Because what we give out comes back. And so be personal and get these letters written, and all the rest of this newsletter is super, super easy, okay? Can everybody please just say, I can do it?
I can do it.
Thank you. Who didn't say that? I heard somebody not say it over here. I have good ears. Yes. Yes.
I think everybody thinks that this is going to take a lot of time to do it, and it really isn't as time-consuming as you might think. There's information all over the place that you can grab off the internet or your life experiences.
Yep.
And I put our main newsletter together in about 3 hours last night with all the information that I have.
And this is the norm, is it'll probably take you 3 hours at the first time. Actually, it'll take you probably more time to sit and ponder what it's going to look like. We're like, oh my God, I could go with so many things. I could go with circles and squares. And what if I want, there's just so many ways to decorate this page. So don't let that hang you up. Just start with something. You can fix it the next week. You can add a second box or circle or triangle next week. You can always add new graphics, which I encourage. But our system right now, it's the templates in our computer. Our system takes us about an hour.
You can save the template
Yep.
and publish it and just redo the story
right? Exactly what we do. We go in and we save the template, and then we just go in and pop in the blocks. And ours are little round blocks, as you can see. You go into there, they're little rounded blocks. I just stretch them however I need to fit the space, and I just pop them in there, right? So I want to go over the stuff that's super important to be in the newsletter. All of the content that you want in the newsletter can be stolen from the web. All you have to do is give the author credit. If Mary Sue writes a recipe, put Mary Sue's name on it and put the website you got it from recipes.com. Mary Sue from recipes.com. So put that in the newsletter, right? Just give credit to whoever gave that out. If you want to be crazy like me, I actually wrote my own recipe one time because everybody tells me to write my recipes down, which I never do, but I'm one of those kitchen cooks that just throws everything in, and then people want the recipe and I have no idea. So one time I actually sat with my partner and made him write everything down that I did, and then it was really cool because I showed up at a lady's house and there was my newsletter, and she was serving dinner to a party, and my white green chili recipe was in all the crock pots. And we were having my recipe, right? And it said Tony Ray's chili on the crock pots. And that's what she was serving. So it was really cool. So that was my very first recipe and my last one I ever wrote. But I did do it. Has anybody in here written a recipe? Woo, it's hard. You have to think like how to tell you to do it just the way I did it. It's crazy. Okay, so you get the part about stealing content, right? Okay. So here's a couple things we're going to talk about that are the musts that need to be done to make the newsletter completely effective and do what you want it to do. I use yellow paper. The reason I use yellow paper is because I'm programming the client. Yellow is the easiest color to see with black writing on it, which is why we use that for signs and not only, your open house signs and your yard signs. How many companies do you see with bright yellow? But how many city directional signs did we used to have that were yellow with black writing? Curve ahead, right? You can see that in the nighttime. You can even see it. So yellow is the best color, and what I'm going to tell you is pick that color. If you absolutely can't do yellow and you pick another color, that's okay. But I'm going to go with optimal. Optimal is yellow. You can only use the yellow thank you, perfect. You can only use the yellow that the mail will allow you. So you're going to go to a company called Kelly Paper Corporation on Grant Road near Oracle. And if you're a nerd like me who likes office supplies, don't go in there without a timer, because they've got 10,000 rows of every kind of paper and sticker and wafer. And Kelly Paper, you can get lost in Kelly Paper. Oh, it's Paper Palace. Really, it should just say Paper Palace. If you're into origami, you're screwed. You do not go to Kelly Paper. There is more colors and things in there than you ever knew existed. And they only have some of it, right, in this warehouse. But go to Kelly Paper and tell them you want the 11 by 17. That's the big sheet that I gave you, right? 11 by 17, yellow paper for the post office. And it has to be one of their colors. Yes? 28-pound canary, thank you. 28-pound, see, I don't even do this anymore. It's been that long since I've gone to Kelly Paper. So you get 28-pound canary yellow, and that is that's what the post office will allow you to have, okay? And it's gonna look like what you've seen because these guys have got it already. Okay, so you're doing yellow, right? Everybody with me on the yellow? Okay. What happens with yellow? My newsletter lands in the mailbox. They see yellow. They know it's what? Tony Ray's newsletter, right? So if a whole stack of mail is in the pile, you see the yellow sticking out, right? So I've got this yellow newsletter that sticks out every time they go to the mailbox. They see yellow. I intentionally need to mail my client something and I want them to open it. I use a yellow envelope and they know it's from me, or you mail my client something by accident, of course. You mail them something. You'll be like not realtors. You're all different businesses, and you're all mailing my clients something, and you use yellow. Guess who they thought of? Me. Isn't that cool? Because I program them every time that yellow is Tony Ray. They know yellow. What's really weird is if things come in the house that are yellow, they might think about me as well. It's really cool. It's programming. We're programming the client, just like we're using the newsletter to program referrals. So programming is huge. We plant seeds, right? We run around and plant seeds, and as we plant seeds, they grow, and we nurture them, and they grow. And that's what you do with the front page, is you nurture those seeds, right? So yellow paper, that's a must. I want you to, if you don't use yellow paper, whatever it is, stick to the same thing at all times. Don't veer from it. I want you to always, them to know it's you coming in, right? Okay. The other thing we're going to talk about that has to be done in here is you have to get forward letter. You got to get okay with it. You got to get good at forward questions, because if you get good at asking these questions when you're talking to people, you'll get good at talking about yourself. Yes. Really? And you couldn't say it yourself?
No, I was just talking. Is there a color you should not?
They only allow like what, green and yellow and pink and tan, and the post office only allows a certain amount of colors. So I think that on bulk mail. So ask, see if that's still the case. I don't think there's a bad color. I don't hear anybody saying there's a bad color. So I'd still use yellow. Yeah. Yes. Everybody hold on just a second, because I want to make sure we can hear her. On the Ford letter?
Yes, I'm working with another agent. She and I are partnering together.
Okay.
We're marketing area.
Perfect.
Do we do the Ford letter together, or do we do it, where do you recommend, like together or half?
You might, if it was me and I was farming to a neighborhood and it wasn't my own COI, I'd probably one of you write the Ford letter one month, and then one of you write the next, so they can get to know you. Because I don't think you have, I think to be authentic, you really need that 300 words. Because you're gonna start writing and you're not gonna feel good, and then it's gonna take 20 minutes, and all of a sudden you're gonna get a few words out, and then you get into the zone, and then all of a sudden when you get into the zone in about 30 minutes, you'll just start typing away. And when that happens, you're in that zone. By the way, shut off your phones, shut the door, hang the do not disturb sign. This is private time, and you should be really focused on it, because the only way you are successful in this business is to make sure you're careful with your time and don't let people interrupt you. And you have a super cool assistant called voicemail, and it will take all of your calls for you. When you're in that zone, you will start getting really authentic in your typing, and so I really think you'll need the 300 words. So I would say you do it 1 month and the partner does it the next. If you're mailing to your COI, however, you might both need to write a letter, and you would use all the rest of the content and then both put that in your letters on the front. Does that make sense? The reason now the cool thing about what Lori and Veronica are doing, which is they took this idea of doing the newsletter and getting help. So they started a newsletter club, and so they have 3 or 4 of them now, and they got the template. I think Lori did their template, and then what they did is now they come to the table with pieces that they want to put in, and then they can all just change the name or whatever they have to do, and they can all send it out. But it also causes, what I like more about it than the content is the accountability. So if all of you were to introduce yourself to somebody here in the room today and hold an accountability newsletter party, you could all just have 2 or 3 people, and you would hold each other accountable to turn in content and get this thing out. How many would get it done more likely, right? How many hands think they would be more likely to get it done if they had accountability? Right. So great idea that they came up with, and when she told me, I'm like, I'm gonna out them today. So that's what we're doing. We're outing their idea, and they said we could. But that's a super cool idea. And how's that working? You guys meet once a month or what?
We don't even really have to meet up, but through email, I can let people in the beginning to kind of let them know the process and how we're working to get everything together.
Nice. So I think what I take away from this is, if you don't think you can do it on your own, or you're not going to be accountable, it takes how many days to make a habit? Anybody know? 21 days to make a habit. And then how many months does it take to make the habit stick where it becomes nature? It's like 3 months, right? So if you could get this newsletter out, if you could just promise to get this out 3 months in a row, you will probably start doing it forever. So all you have to do is take a little bite out of this elephant and say, I'm just going to do it for 3 months and get it going. The power of 7 applies to this newsletter. It takes 7 times to get people to get familiar with you, to get familiar with it, and to start thinking of you all the time. So they need to see 7 of these, and you need to get 3 so that it becomes natural for you to keep doing it. If you need an accountability partner, I say get an accountability partner. My accountability partner used to charge me $1,000, and I charged him $1,000 if we didn't perform. So I say, I know, right? Pain? Right. Well, what's pain for you, right? So is $500 pain? Or does $1,000 make you get pain? So you got to figure out what that is, but that's what we use. We use money. It was like, and it went into the party fund, right? Okay, so we're going yellow. We're going to do our forward letter, right? And we know how to scrape content off the web. Everybody learn that word, scrape? Okay, we're going to scrape. Is that right word, James? We're scraping content? You guys scrape content, right? Right? So you're scraping content off the web. Okay. This is Michelle's newsletter. Michelle, if you can see this. And Michelle goes with cute little graphics. But Michelle has her little, what? What is that? What's it called? Her Bitmoji. What group loves this? Younger buyers. They grew up on this. Who can text me a message right now and speak to me completely with emojis in this room? Right? Right? I can do it too. I can talk back to you. Yes. I know my emojis. I actually go in and I'm like, oh, this means this, this, and this. Let's see if they figure out the puzzle. Now wait, remember the old days? The puzzles? Do you remember puzzles in the old days? They gave you a number and a picture of a bird -3, and then you had to figure it out. Is that not what we've resorted back to as emojis? We're doing the same thing, right? It's right, and then we go back even further, and it's called petroglyphs, right? Caveman. We're just reverting. We're just all confused. We think technology is going forward. We're going backward, right? So we're talking in these little things. So Michelle has these cute little. Well, on the back, you can really see it. This one's really adorable. It says approved, right? That's a picture of her. So there's a cute little way. That's a different take on this newsletter, right? It's her way. I will bet you most of her clients will respond to this her way and the way she wants them to because it's her way. And they already know her way, right? Same as Lori, Veronica, and I don't want to forget you. Gail. Thank you. Oh, wait, who's Gail? You're Gail. You're the one. I thought it was her. When you pointed across the room, I went to her the first time, and she just looked at me and went like this. I thought she had food in her mouth. That's very funny. That's why I made waiter jokes, and I wasn't a waiter ever. So this is really getting weird. Okay. Okay, so here's theirs. Okay? So you can see the front. I'm sorry, I got to go like this, right? Okay? And then they've got it blocked off in blocks, more like mine is, right? It's a different. Which one's better? Doesn't matter. None of them are better. They're all the same. It's just your way. Right. What do you see in this one? This one is my personality. It's much more weird. Because I like bubbles and rounded things because I just, that's my personality, right? So I make the boxes different. I like to use hard graphics. A lot of these little black and whites, I like to use those because they pop. Always use your graphics. That's another thing. You're going to use yellow paper, write a forward letter, always use graphics. If you don't have a picture or a graphic with the story, you need to get one. That's, yes, and you can get graphics for free everywhere now, right? So get graphics on there. If you could use a real picture that you took, put it in there. One of the best newsletters ever I send out is when I go to Europe, because we travel every year. We travel to Europe, and we go for 30 days, and we see the country. And I'm, by the way, super glad we just saw Notre Dame. And I just filmed, and I just took over 1,000 photos of that cathedral. I sat one day in Paris. I sat there with a camera and decided, this is like ADD, I decided that I was going to get every gargoyle on that building. And I sat and shot every kind of photograph you can imagine. So when I heard yesterday that was happening there, it was like heartbreaking. But traveling got me, I got to see Notre Dame. I got to see it before it burned, and so that's really cool. But so did all my clients. Because I was able to, so what I do is I do that white insert that you saw that Lori and Veronica did. I did the white insert in my yellow newsletter, only I printed it out in color on my little HP, and I printed out color photos of my trips, and then I can write a little story about trip to Budapest or Paris or wherever, and I can tell them about my what? Recreation. And so I tell them, and they get to see the color photos, and I get tons of calls off of those. And then they asked me to help them plot their trips. I just helped somebody actually plan their entire trip through Italy because we had done it. So isn't that cool? What a connection, right? And then when the family got back from Italy, what did they do? Called me to sit down and show me all the pictures of the family in Italy. Isn't that neat? So it's constantly causing connections when you do this stuff. Okay, other thing I want you to know that you have to do every single time is I want you to always try to get a welcome new clients box into this newsletter. If you do not have a new client this month, it's okay. Don't put the box in. As soon as you get a new client, I want that in the box. I want that box put back in, right? What we're doing here, what do people love to see? They're in print. Their names. It's so cool. So we say Suzie and Joe thank you Suzie and Joe for referring us to Mark and Samantha. I'm just running out of names and my brain is not working. Right. So we actually, the minute we get, if it's coming in, the minute we get it coming in, we'll actually put it in because it's a referral. And by the way, this is super important. Lori, I'm going to separate you two. This is super, super important for you to understand. You always, always want to thank them for the referral immediately, not the fact that it closed. I want to encourage behavior, not the result at the end. I don't want you to think about who you're referring and whether, I don't want you to like figure out, well, this person's, I want you just to refer every time. I want it to be natural. I want you to be, I'm programming you all the time on all my systems to refer me. So if I'm doing that, I need to thank you immediately. So I'm going to always thank you when you refer me. When our agents refer us from around the United States, we immediately send a thank you note out to those agents. We send a thank you on the email, and we update them as soon as we're going through the process as to what's happening with their client. Because why? Because they are hoping to get paid. And they've trusted us to take the client in Tucson, Arizona, and they're in New York, and they cannot manage it or look over it. So I'm going to keep updating that agent to make sure they know that I am thankful for them sending me that referral, and also that I'm taking good care of the referral, right? So the same is when I get a referral from a friend, I'm going to update them. Hey, thank you so much on however they came through. They come by text, I text them back. If they email, we email them back. But as soon as that referral and I make connection and we're getting ready to go into the process, I'm going to update the client who referred them. And I'm going to say, hey, just want to let you know we're on the road to finding a new house for Suzie. Have I said Susie's name a lot today? Because I don't know why that name's popping in my head. Suzie. Does that make sense? Okay, so we want to thank them immediately if we can. Now imagine you get the newsletter and it says, thank you for referring Joe and Jane. I tried new words. So you would see yourself in my newsletter. Isn't that cool? And you've already heard thank you from me, but I'm overly thanking them, making sure they see it, right? Really quick, by the way, has anybody heard my voicemail? Right? Who's heard my voicemail? What does it say on my voicemail? Right, and I thank you for the referral, and I ask you who referred you. What am I doing? Planting seeds on my voicemail. My goal is, I don't know if I did it this last time, my goal is every time I change that message, it says referral 3 times. Thank you for the referral. Please let me know who referred you. If you were referred to me, I talk about referral on my voice message so people go, oh, that guy works by referral. I'm planting seeds. Same thing you're doing, building foundation, is you're planting seeds by thanking people for the referral. You can steal all the words, and this box is already done for you. I just did it. Look, hey, welcome new clients, and thank you for the referrals. Does that work for everybody? It's done. Okay, look, all done. You can even steal the graphic. I don't care. But I want you to put their names in it, because if you use my clients' names, that'll be weird again. So you can see that we actually even say where they came from. So we say they came from their returning client, or they came from a website, or they came. It's pretty cool. When we started putting that people were coming from websites, it was very interesting because more of our clients started sending more of their friends to our websites. Who knew that would happen? Right? So this little box is magical. Magical. Now, I also throw a little box, which isn't in this one, that says, hey, it's got a little map of the United States. You want to write this down. It says, hey, we can help your friends anywhere in the United States. Can you guys help somebody buy property anywhere in the United States? Yes. How are you going to do it? Referral. Out. Right? And so we get traffic through our newsletter because people call up and say, my friend Suzie, Suzie's it today, Suzie is moving to New York and Suzie needs a realtor. Do you know of somebody? Absolutely I do. Let me look in my database. I'll call you back today. First place I go is the CRS.com directory right online. I look for CRS. Why do I go there? CRS are required to have an ABR, a GRI. They have to go through all the education of a CRS. How many years of school is that? 5. They have a minimum 5-year requirement, and they have to have turned in $5 million worth of contracts that show that they were single-sided representatives. That's a CRS. They are in business to be in business, or they wouldn't have gone through CRS. CRS is pretty grueling. Back in the day when I did CRS, I had to travel to all different cities in the United States to get the degree. It was crazy. They didn't have them in Tucson. Okay? So if you go to CRS.com, it actually says, what city do you want to go to? And it'll show you all the different CRS, right? And then it'll give you pictures of them. Now, I know my client, and I'll tell you, I had a lady call me, said, can you help me in San Diego? I said, yes, of course I can. And I looked through the San Diego CRS group, and I found this lady who looked like she was really fun. I think she had leopard skin jacket on or something that caught my attention. That kind of sexy leopard thing going on. So I looked at her, and I thought, she looks fun. My client is very fun and peppy, and they love their margaritas, and they like to travel, and I just got this vibe from this lady. So I pick up the phone, I called her. It took me all of 7 minutes to figure out she was a great connection just by talking to her. So I spoke to her on the phone for 7 minutes, turned the client over to her, and let it go. Okay? About 3 months later, I received a check in the mail, opened it up, didn't even know what it was for. The clients didn't tell me they had closed on the house. They wanted it to be a surprise. And the check was for $8,000 for a referral that took me 7 minutes. So if you calculate that out, I probably made like $10,000 an hour or something. But think about it. How much money could you make if you were actually telling people that you can help them in any city? Does the client know that? No. Whose job is it to tell your client what you do? Right. How do you do that with Easy Foundation? You can tell your client anything you want. They're a captive audience with this piece of paper because it's yours. So put a little map, a little map of the United States, and put, we can help you or your friends buy a house or sell a house anywhere in the United States of America, and you'll get the level of customer service and trust you expect from us. Put it in your newsletter. Now, I have already solved 2 boxes for you in this newsletter. Plus, I've already got the front cover for you done. All you have to do now is scrape maybe 2 articles. It's getting easier, right? It's very simple. Any questions so far? Yes. Is this a question for you or for her? I thought of it. Nice. Good for you then.
You have the fair housing on the back, but do you feel, is there anything about the brokerage, you have it here,
I have it here, so when it arrives, it says Antigua Realty. And then sometimes I have it in different spots, depending, because I'll move it around. But no, it's not. Yeah, it's on the bottom bar, Tierra Antigua Realty. No, broker is Tierra. Yeah. So what is the? Am I in violation?
No, I'm just
Oh. I'm going back to becoming a secret agent, like right now. So if anybody knows that I am in violation, I would like to know, because I do try to keep up on it. But these things change, and we don't all hear about it. But yeah, so I think it's imperative to put the bar down at the bottom, because if I'm reading your newsletter, I want to find your information. I don't want to flip through the pages. So I'd make sure it says your name, your phone number, and your byline, and your company down at the bottom of every page, so it's quick and easy to find. Okay? Okay, last page. I have a story about what by referral only means, and it's programming them to what? I'm planting a seed. I'm doing this by saying to you, look, if I'm not chasing leads, if I'm not working with that side of this business, how much more time do I have in a day to pay attention to you? A lot, right? Darren and I, so we're going to go transparent. Darren and I did 15 million last year in business. We took 6 vacations. We did not work on Sundays. We barely work a half day on Saturdays sometimes. If I'm on a Saturday, I'm actually probably not with a client. I'm probably with Tom Heath. Brainstorming in a room, having fun, eating Johnny Gibson sandwiches. I work Monday through Friday. I usually shut my phones off at 6 to 7, so if you're sending me an offer, I'll respond in the following morning. I have a very balanced, good life. We always go to Europe every year. We spend 30 days in Europe. Sometimes we go twice a year. Last year, I spent almost 70-some days on vacation. I have 3 part-time people, James, Beth, and Gonzo, who do a world of stuff for us. We'd be crippled without them. They all work part-time for us on their schedules, whatever they want to work. They're all independent contractors. And it's Darren and me. And I still do this newsletter. I also teach classes every month. I actually teach classes every week. I actually am on the board for 2 charities. And I vacation in Mexico with Christy. I send out a magazine. We do other marketing and advertising. And I get it all done. So I'm telling you this because you can get this done. If I can do it, a kid with no college education. I was a scrapper. I had no money. We had to just do what we had to do. I became a salesperson for commission right off the bat. I was selling electronics like crazy. For that $10 commission, that was a big deal for me back when I was a kid. So you can do this. You can put this together. You can do it. You just have to schedule it, and you just have to tell the rest of the world, no, don't touch me for 3 hours. Whatever it is, it'll be the best thing you do. I spend 60% of my life on my business and 40% in my business. And if you read Michael Gerber's E-Myth, which he just came out with a new revised edition, which I haven't read, you'll understand the power of working on the business and how little you have to work in it when your systems are really clear. It's called E-Myth, E-M-Y-T-H. And he just made a revision, and it's supposed to be really good. It's on every podcast right now. They're talking about it, so that's why I know. Read the book E-Myth. McDonald's whole business is based on it. But 60% of my time is working on business. It's doing what I love. I get to create photographs and pictures and websites and marketing and social media and go live on video and do really stupid things in front of people. It's fun, right, for me. And so you can do that too. All you have to do is schedule. By referral is why I can do that. I don't buy leads. I don't chase leads. Leads come to us. We work up until my websites, until internet, we were 94% all referral generated business. Now I'm about 65 to 70% referral from my database, which is actually about 94% referral. But I have a new division in my business, which is internet leads coming from websites that I built on my own. And I write all the content. James helps me write the content. He writes like me. He writes as if he is me. So he's my ghostwriter. Is that what it's called? Ghostwriter? Dude, you're a ghost. So what we do is we put the content on, and what am I using a lot of times on my websites? The same premise. People call me from websites and say, oh my God, can you help us buy a house, Tony Ray? Our dog and us are moving, and they act like they know me. Why? Because it's me. I'm authentic. I'm not a canned website that everybody has. I'm authentic. It's messed up. It's not perfect. It's not great. The website is pretty most of the time, but there are places where there's a line that's askew or there's a misspelled word, but that's normal and authentic. So don't get paralysis with this stuff. Be yourself and do this newsletter. On the back, you cannot say by referral only. That line, by referral only, comes from a coaching club that teaches you how to do your business by referral. It is an amazing club. I've been with Joe Stump from By Referral Only since 1995. It was a slow way to learn because I didn't do the quick, fast path to buying leads at the time. We didn't have that. But here I am today, and I have a very well-balanced life, and I'm happy, and I still love real estate, and I'm not burnt out. In June is my 25th year anniversary in real estate, right? And I still love it. And I get to do what I want every day. So this is foundation to getting there. So I'm going to end right now with questions and give you a break because I really want you to get into listings. Any questions about newsletters? Yes. Yes, person who is not with them. What is your name?
Do you post that on the website, or do you typically?
So this is the question. She says, do I post this on the website? I have thought about doing that. I think it's a great idea. I think you could send this out to everybody. I think if you put it up on a website, you could put a link to it or something. It's not something to mail via email. They don't want to open your emails. I have email systems that they open. I have a 90+% open rate on my emails. Every month, my clients read my emails. Huh? Yeah, I'm going to actually tell you about it in a minute. But this, you do not want to send out an email. This goes in the mailbox. By the way, when you get it, how many people in your family? How many people in your family, Rosemary? 4. 4 people. All 4 people will read my newsletter. They'll read your newsletter. The kids actually steal the newsletter and they pass it to the parents. And the newsletter moves around the house. I have found my newsletters in doctors' offices. I've had doctors call me and ask me to send them more copies to put in their offices. So it's really awesome what this thing will do for you. One last piece. Support your community through the newsletter. Michelle brought up a really great idea. We've written about Christy Frank and American Family Insurance in the newsletter. What does that do for you when you're supporting Christy Frank or you're supporting your favorite businesses? It puts your team together, number one. As many people as I have in our client database, the more of them that are with my team, the better. Because we all can take care of them in the way we want them taken care of. So as I'm supporting businesses in this newsletter, it also comes back because it's the law of reciprocation. It helps us all do business. It's local. It's a magical thing. This is like a unicorn right in the room right now. So I really encourage you to do this. Any questions about newsletter before I let you have 5 minutes to get rid of water? Yes. You could do that, absolutely. You could start with one page. You would get to do this piece, and you have to do the back and something there. You could change this anytime, right? And fold it over and send it out. So you could start with that. What I would encourage you to do if you're going to go that far is just scrape some content and finish it out, because I really want those other components in there for you, which is programming referrals. Because this is about laying what? Foundation. right? So you really want all the pieces in there. So really what you're writing is 3 pages each time. Okay? Okay, anybody else questions on newsletters?